Well, in this tutorial we'll be covering HDRI lighting in Cinema 4D, so without further ado, let's jump in. The first thing that you're going to require in this is the HDRI maps, which I've put in the description box on YouTube. When you open the link, it should download directly from Deviantart, with thanks to ZBYG for actually uploading these. They are really good, decent HDRI images. So let's start. During this tutorial I will briefly describe what HDRI maps are as well. So let's start by adding a sky object and also a floor object. Once you have these two objects within the scene, make sure you have the pack downloaded, then make a new material. This new material, once you made this you want to double click it to open up in the material manager, turn off specular, turn off color and turn luminance on, and within the luminance channel click the drop down arrow, click load image, navigate to your folder where you extracted all the HDRI maps, and as you can see, with each one of the HDRI maps he's got a nice little preview to show you exactly what they look like. He's got a large HDRI and also a small version of that within the studio to make it a lot smaller rather than having a huge file to make rendering time slower. I'm going to use, let's use number 7. You can use any other one. So select the HDRI map, make sure it's not the preview, and open it. You don't have to copy it to the document location, so click no on that. And as you can see, we've got this nice little HDRI map here, and we'll drag that to the sky object. Once we've got that done, we will simply make a floor material by double clicking the material box or the empty part to make a material. Double click the material to open it up in the material editor. We will want to turn off specular, keep color on, and select a rough color of what you want the room to look like. I'm going with a medium white, not a pure value white, otherwise it'll look way too bright. Now we've got that done, we will place that material on the floor. Insert a object. It can be anything, it can be a sphere, it can be a cube, it can even be a custom object you've made. Once you've got that within the scene, let's just make a material for that with some reflection on. So I'll keep the specular, I'll keep the color channels, change a bit of the color to a bit more of an appropriate color that looks nice. Even though that green looks horrible, I'll keep it. Let's add some reflection. Turn reflection brightness down to at least 4 or 10%. You can go all out with 100 if you really want, but render times increase with the more reflection because it adds more detail. Click the drop down arrow for texture and add some Fresnel. Turn the mix strength down. What this does is just adds a bit more of a realism to the actual colour of the object. And then drag that onto the sphere. Now if you render this within the scene, you get a bit of a result, but not the result you're looking for. This isn't exactly what we're looking for. And to fix that, we click on this little button here, which is Render Settings. When that opens, click Effect and Global Illumination. What Global Illumination does is basically uses any type of material that has lighting on it and uses it to light the scene. Now this is where the explanation of the HDRI map comes in. The HDRI map stands for High Dynamic Range Image, which means it's an image that contains lighting data within it. So you put that on an object, like the sky for instance, and what it does is it uses the sky to render onto the sphere. And the global illumination uses the lighting within the sky on the material to light the scene. So if I render now, we have a much better effect happening, but as you can see the background is quite horrible, and to fix that background what we can simply do is make a background, and when we've got the background there, drag and drop the same material you used for the floor on the background, right click the floor, not in the window but within the material, not the material browser, the object browser, sorry, and select Cinema 4D tags, compositing. We want compositing background for the floor and also for the background, so we'll do the same, Cinema 4D tags, compositing, compositing background. Then for the sky, we'll go to Cinema 4D tags and compositing, add compositing background, but for this one we want scene by camera off because we don't want to see it. Now if we render this, we should get the effect we're looking for. But as you can see, there is some errors here, and the reason these errors are here is because we haven't changed the UV mapping for the background and floor. So if we go to the background, on the main material we'll change the projection to frontal, which is already on, and for the floor we'll change it to frontal as well. That should, in theory, fix it. Unless the output isn't on the right size. Let's just change the output to make it fit and render to picture viewer. As you can see, we've got a nice clean shot of the object. Just to show you what it looks like, I'll up the reflection to make it a bit more intense, and I'll also increase the specular to something a bit more sharp. Now, if you want, you can increase the look of the scene by putting a gradient on the background. So if we change the material that's used for the floor and also the background to a gradient, and switch the gradient to a 2D V or even a 2D circular, depending on what you want. I quite like 2D V, and select a light, well, a darkish colour for the bottom and a light colour for the top, probably a bit lighter than that. So it's just off the actual colour, slid down on the actual colour slider, and that should render to picture viewer, come out with a nice looking scene. As you can see in this is all the rebounding light off the HDRI map, bouncing off all the sphere, and this is one of the simplest ways and quickest ways you can use to make high definition, high quality lighting in Cinema 4D.